Okay, hold on. And in some cases, I lost my place here. Allowing you to understand the hidden dangers and possible solutions, prevention, or protection of your health. Within the health food industry, as well as a personal consultant and bodybuilder trainer, assisting people in finding health solutions, or utilize different healing modalities from different cultural themes, as well as in herbs, supplements, vitamins, essential oils, and foods. You can access, and now energy, using EMPs and all kinds of wonderful things to knock out nanotechnology that might be infecting you. You can access me by going to my website at augmentinforce.com, augmentinforce.com. I also do personal consultations as well, whether through the internet, through the IMs, phones, personal visits, as well as in-house workshops for families, individuals, or groups. On my website at augmentinforce.com, there is a catalog link, which I still have yet to upgrade. On there, you will find different things that are there. The bucket should be there, but it's not. I'll have to get that on there. The flash drive is there. It's a full, complete package with books, videos, radio shows, databases, and interviews all in one. We also have on there books on DVD, so if you're interested in the book on DVD, you can get one or all three books. They're there. We also have remedies there as well, and tonics that may help you, and we have other things that you may want to peruse and check out. So for more information, if you want to reach me, you can reach me through the email at independs@yahoo.com, independz@yahoo.com. And you can also reach me through by phone, 519-977-5351. And if you have any questions or comments you'd like to make on this show, feel free to call in pertaining to the show, 208-935-0094. And today's date is July 29th, 2017. Can you imagine that? We are still here. Consider this for a moment. We are being fumigated. We are being polluted. We are being poisoned. We are being exposed to synthetic biology. And we are still here. That is a testament to our Creator. Yeah, you got to admit, I mean, put us together pretty good to be able to withstand all this crap. But there are limitations to everything. All right, I want to I'm going to start off the show a little different today. I want to point out, if you haven't seen it, I'm sure most of you have, and I know I've sent it out to a lot of you. Wisconsin company, the 3 Square something or another. Give me a second, it'll boot up. These things are all working. Okay, Wisconsin company, 3 Square Market to microchip employees. This has got to be the dumbest thing yet going. Now, they targeted, when they show you the YouTube or whatever they're using as a format for the video on it, they're showing some young guy, some goofy doofus looking guy, working in a store or whatever, and he's got this chip implanted between his index finger and his thumb. And he's showing you where it is, and he's so proud because now he can go and buy stuff without having all he's going to do is wave his hand. And now he can buy his pop and his soda and his garbage junk food and whatever. And he is happy with this. So for those of you who are not sure about this article, or you haven't seen it yet, just type in Wisconsin company, 3 Square Market to microchip employees. First company that's going to initiate this. This was targeting the millennials. When you watch the ad, you will see they didn't have anybody there older. They had young people there, a young guy, a millennial, who doesn't have enough brains to know he's not making enough money to earn a living where he's at, thinking that this is a cool thing because this is a new toy, a new play toy that we can now put into the skin just so that you can now be irradiated with some frequencies to read a chip located in your hand. This has got to be a DARPA ad, has to be, or a Google ad, has to be. They were playing with this stuff years ago. They were showing you how you could swallow a chip, and your cell phone would be connected to you. The appliances or the console of your car would respond to you. I mean, this thing could tell you the temperature and how fast where you're located. I mean, the whole nine. But you swallow this so that your acids would activate the cells, the power cells, to power the chip. And this was the people they were doing this. They were talking about Motorola and how how Google bought Motorola, and they got this new, chip that, not chip, but what is a chip? But you put it on like a Band-Aid, and it can monitor your body and all this stuff, trying to get people comforted with the idea of being integrated with technology. Now, they've already got the background of the technology going already inside of all of us with nanotechnology. By adding nanocomposites into us, nanobiology, all kinds of things, they're even talking now, which I will talk about in the show, about programming RNA and to get it to do things that it wouldn't normally do by, again, integrating nanotechnology and creating a synthetic biology and to, again, program your RNA. This is all about, again, attenuating you or basically hooking you up to the tech. This tech, once it gets inside of you, takes you over. You no longer have a free will. You are now enslaved to an AI construct or an AI machine. You will not have the ability to make decisions. Those decisions will be made for you. They will be pumped into your brain, and they will program your brain. Instead of having a cell phone with a frequency hitting your brain, which takes too long, takes too much time, takes forever. Unless you're really stupid, then it doesn't take any time at all. But if you got the chip inside of you, now this is a direct access point to you, to your DNA, to your mitochondria, to your cells, to your ATP. This is a kill switch being implemented into people. And this is basically what it's all about, keeping tabs on everything. So when we're looking at, they're also in there indicating that if you didn't want to wear the chip, they would give you a ring or a wrist kind of a wrist pad. So this is the world we're coming to. I figure, again, this is just my hypothesis. I don't think we've got 10 years and cash will be gone. Because these morons do not understand the implications of what they're doing or what they're attaching themselves to. And you have to understand the millennials today have no brain. They're nothing but programmed automatons that cannot think for themselves. They will follow a book. They will follow a text. They cannot think beyond those directions or those directives. Whatever has been implemented into their education, if you want, or programming, which would be a better word, this is all they're going to follow. When I talk, a lot of times about the 50s generation, that's my generation, a lot of us have seen the changes in the de-evolution that's been going on. We have seen the de-evolving of our food supply. We've been seeing the de-evolving of the health system. We've been seeing the de-evolving of the political structure. We have been seeing the total collapsing of the systems, no matter where you live. Canada, United States, Europe, Russia, China, Australia, New Zealand, Africa. We have been seeing the demise of the old school. The new and improved school is now going to have artificial intelligence dictating policy. Artificial intelligence that will, again, give you what you need to do and what you need to know. You will be just smart enough to push a button, not much else. There will be no creative thought because your thoughts will be integrated with a machine. Everyone makes this thing like there's this guy named Elon Musk, and he's talking about putting a thread in the brain where it will then, with nanotechnology, extend its tentacles into the fullerenes into your head, connecting you directly to the artificial intelligence. Because in his own words, if you don't have that, you will not be able to keep up with the future generations that will be genetically engineered. And you'll be like a cat or a dog. Well, this is what he was saying. Now, I, for one, do not want to wear any kind of chip on my body, period. I don't want it in my head. I don't want it up my backside. I don't want to wear it on my wrist. I do not care for this kind of thing. The idea, this is, again, more and more people surrendering their free will in order to go along, to get along. And this going along to get along to some level may be okay, but on the level where it starts taking away your humanity and starts taking away your dignity and your ability to think and feel and be free thinking, this is basically, you're nothing more than an extension and an automaton to a hierarchy of machinery. Basically, you're bowing down to a bloody machine. And like I said, some of you, I mean, I hear this all the time about, talking to young people today in their 20s who you can't reach anymore because they know it all. Well, then again, when you were 18 to 20, you knew it all too. You thought you knew everything. Because we were programmed, okay? Those of us whose families are immigrants, who came from another country, came to North America, had to adapt to the Western way of living. And in that Western way of living, what wound up happening is your cultural ties or your cultural past was severed. You were no longer thinking like a European, no matter where you came from, or a Middle Easterner, or an Asian, or somebody from the Baltic region, or New Zealand, Australia, or Africa, or wherever you, or South America, wherever you may have come from. So what happens is you came along with your cultural identity intact, but your kids now were being programmed by the institutions that you were sending them to. So in the institutions, they were taught, they were sometimes violently directed against their very culture. So then when the child came home, he had to deal with 2 cultures, or 3, depending on what was going on. And as a result, there were conflicts. And as a result, there was this falling away from the old ways. And as a result, a lot of things that is happening, or was happening, was that then the student became programmed. So again, and this continued on and on and on with television, with drugs, with the food supply, with the music, which was nothing but frequencies which were being pumped in that were programming you. So when we're looking at things that are happening today with the young people, the millennials, they have no clue how bad or how far off the beaten path they really are. They're looking at the future in regard to what they're going to get into and how they're going to be doing it. The whole principle about programming is to shake away or take away the traditional aspects of life so that you can now be part of this new world order, if you will, or this new institution coming in. Money is going to be an obsolete thing. So whatever you're going to do and however you're going to be prepared, you have to prepare for that contingency as well, where you have money, if you have it, what you're going to do with it, what you're going to get with it, what you're going to get now, where you're going to put it, where you're going to live, because these things have to be looked at. The new age that's coming in is an age of complete domination of the humanity. But these chips that they're talking about, we've already got nanoparticles floating in our body. They've never, ever tested the nano for the safety of humans. Never. They never tested for the safety of the environment before they released it. Now, after the fact, after it's out there, now they're doing all the tests, and we're seeing all kinds of wonderful things. Like I said, my research in this has taken me all the way back to 1960 when they started poisoning the food supply. Everybody thinks we've been eating organics. Organics has been the biggest joke going. They have been putting nanoparticles in the food supply since 1960. 1970, they introduced the genetics. 1980, they introduced the glyphosates and the microwaves. In the 1990s, they were doing something else to the food supply, and pharmaceuticals were being now implemented. So we have not had really any organics. If you look up the research on if you haven't been there already, if you go on my website, I got a link called Nanotransformations. And in there is a link talking about silica. And people have been using diatomaceous earth thinking that it's been doing them some good. Diatomaceous earth is a form of nanotechnology. And when they tell you that you don't absorb it in the colon, they're not completely correct. What happens with the nano is because it's so small, it's embedding itself into the lining and going through it, thereby then getting into the bloodstream and then starting to assemble a circuitry in the cells, causing the cells to be completely overloaded with the silica, and then the silica attaches itself to other silica, creating a circuit in the body, and then shutting down the cellular communication going on with the cells. 1960, they started putting it in. By 1968, 1969, 1970, all of a sudden we had lupus. All of a sudden we had restless leg syndrome. All of a sudden we had fibromyalgia issues coming in. All of a sudden we had autoimmune disorders happening. And nobody made the connection to the silica because the silica got a GRAS pass, an okay on it. And the only reason why they didn't test it, and this is the truth if you look at the research, the only reason why they didn't test it because it was ubiquitous in nature. No, it's everywhere. So it couldn't hurt you if it was everywhere. Well, arsenic is everywhere. Cadmium is everywhere, you know. But they know what those will do. So then a doctor came along. I was looking at research the other day, and he tied the connection to Morgellons, or nanopoisoning, to silica. He's correct. That was one of the foundations of the building blocks of this technology in the body. It's using that as a circuitry, because just about everything you're eating or swallowing or medicating with has silicon dioxide in it. Take a look at your vitamins. Take a look at your prescriptions. Take a look at some of the cosmetics that you're dealing with. Take a look at some of the foods that you have, some of the spices. You'll be surprised, and it's in all the grain. There is not one grain that it's not in. Oh, all right, we're at the bottom of the hour. So come on back. We'll continue on so we'll see how things are transpiring, what we need to do. All right, see you in a bit. Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to the second half of the show. We're talking about nano and synthetic biology and chipping and whatnot. There's another article that was just as horrendous. A friend of mine there, another activist, got me to looking at this. We're now looking at babies. Okay, babies now are basically, they're going to give them diapers that have a chip in them. If you go to www.indiegogo.com, and there's a diaper called Dry Me Diaper. And basically what it is, it's got a chip. Basically where the baby's backside is the chip is inserted into the diaper. Now this is an interesting concept because it works on radio frequencies. Basically, the diaper wicks away the moisture or whatever away from the child's backside, and when it gets full, it sends a signal to your cell phone saying, hey, change the child's full, kind of thing. Now that frequency is right there by the endocrine system, it's right there by the digestive system, it's right there by the anal cavity, the intestinal tract. It's right there by the space of the spine. Now we know based on the frequencies what they can do to an adult. Imagine a child having to wear that in a diaper. Basically, this is a castration waiting to happen. Whether you're a boy or a girl, this eventually will shut down your reproductive capacity to produce again. This is a hideous crime. This is a product that's being sold as as some kind of, convenience for a parent. And most, like I said, most of these are millennials. They have no clue. They have been taught that this technology might be safe. It might not be as toxic as we have been told. That there's been no tests to validate any toxicity. The reason there's no test of any toxicity because the testing is going on right now while you're using the product. Instead of waiting 20 years to put something out to market, we just release it right away. You try the thing out after 20 years. When you drop dead, we can say, no, it had nothing to do with it. Like they've done everything else. And GMOs, for instance. Oh, no, genetics never know. They're safe. You remember the guy in Europe that had found that feeding them was a GMO corn or soy, I forget what he fed them. These rats, they all grew tumors in 5 days. 5 days. And then they made them take down the site because they would have stopped subsidizing that university, and they fired that professor. This is where we're at today. You know, this is where we're at. And there is no, how would you put it, comfort zone. We're between a hard place and a rock today. That's where we're at. And those of us who have had any form of education whatsoever have been learning things in life and learning things through institutions, you know, being trained and doing things. We are the biggest obstacle to the New World Order, because the New World Order cannot move forward till we're gone. Because these young people today are so damn stupid, it's not even funny. They have no, I mean, they couldn't tie their shoe with Velcro, for crying out loud, a lot of them. And I'm not kidding you. And pretty soon they're going to have a device where the shoelace will tie itself. This is how far down the quagmire that civilization has gone to. This is probably the worst civilization fall coming ever. You know, we've got all these tools, all these things to help us evolve. Instead, it's taking us back the other way. The reliance and the dependency on machinery is incredible. And eventually, all you're going to need to do is to operate the machine to ask it yes or no, or if, and, or but. That's all you're going to need to do. And the machine then will assess very quickly what's going on. And machines are not that reliable to begin with. There are some things that they have limitations with. No matter how advanced they are, there'll always be a limitation. Unless you make a completely synthetic life that has all the qualities of a human being, and be able to basically decide yes, no, up and down, and have the right moral determination factors built into its programming. And even then, that could be a problem. This whole concept is here today. It's not tomorrow. It's not going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to read you some stuff as well, just to get you an idea. This half of the show, we'll see how far it goes. And then we're going to go second half, and I'll continue. All right. Living computers, RNA circuits transform cells into nano devices. Now, listen to this, okay? This is really important, and you get that. Living computers. RNA circuits are transforming cells into nano devices. RNA circuits. They're embedding circuitry into the RNA so they can now tell it to do whatever they want it to do so it will work out. How living cells can be induced to carry out computations in the manner of a tiny robot or computer. Low-cost diagnostic technologies and even the development of futuristic nanomachines. We are using very predictable and programmable RNA. RNA interactions to define what these circuits can do. That means we can use computer software to design RNA sequences that behave the way we want them in a cell. This is the exact same technology that they use for genetically modifying or genetically engineering the food supply. They would open up a seed, inject into it a nanogold pod with a program sequence so that when the enzymes activated the proteins, the pod then would program the seed to do whatever they wanted it to do, whether to produce a transgenic poison to kill bugs or to create a coating on it. Again, that would release a certain chemical to act as an insecticide or a pesticide. You know, whatever they told it to do, it would then do. Now, let's take that technology to a higher level. Let's now program RNA. Doesn't take much. We've already got the components in us to do this. Okay, that means that we can use computer software to design RNA sequences that behave the way we want them in a cell. That is controlling the RNA. Imagine that kid that we saw in Wisconsin. Now he's got a chip that can get inside, which now can program his RNA. And let's say that kid somehow manages to get to 50 years old, which I doubt he will. But let's say he does manage to get to that far up into that realm. And let's say they decide now that he's been on the planet too long, he's become of absolutely no use, he cannot be re-educated, can't be retrained, and is basically now just sucking up resources. Flip a switch, tell the program to tell the RNA to terminate itself. All it would take. All it would take. When you're talking RNA and access points to RNA, and then we're talking about making circuitry with RNA, how does that impact our RNA? Let's say something is made from the outside. Okay, again, let's talk food. Let's talk food. Putting something in a seed or in a fiber, even maybe at that point with the nanotechnology or synthetic biology, just attach the RNA to the very fiber of the plant, and now you can alter the composition and the chemistry of that plant. You can alter the genetics of that plant. Now let's say you're consuming this issue, and all of a sudden that genetic code is not working with you. What happens then? These are things that, again, nobody's really thinking about. They're racing into it. They're running like crazy to get there, get it done. Hurry up, get it going, that kind of thing. And what's happening now is again, all caution's been thrown to the wind. The approach described uses circuits composed of ribonucleic acid, RNA. These circuits designed, which resemble conventional electronic circuits, self-assemble in bacterial cells in your gut, allowing them to sense incoming messages and respond to them by producing a particular computational output, in this case a protein. Proteins can be made to carry viruses. Proteins can be made to carry microbes. Proteins can be made to even support parasites. Bacteria, fungi. This technology is extremely dangerous in the wrong hands. And today, it wouldn't take much for somebody in a genetic study or an institution that is working with genetics to come up with a compilation to put something in maybe and drop it in water. Gets into the drinking water. You can wipe out a whole community, or you can turn them into drones. In the new study, specialized circuits known as logic gates were designed in the lab and then incorporated into living cells. The tiny circuit switches are tripped when messages in the form of RNA fragments attach themselves to their complementary RNA sequences in the cellular circuit, activating the logic gate and producing a desired output. Earlier in the past, probably a year, I talked about something called XNA, which is similar to RNA. The difference between XNA and RNA is the sugar composition of the nucleic acid is different. And what this can do is it can mimic an RNA. And then if you've got a program inside the XNA, it can now carry it into the RNA. We have a lot of interesting things going on, and it's been going on for quite some time. None of this has been studied for safety. This is the Pandora's box that's coming out, and it's going to leave no trail behind, because everything it will touch, it will alter, just like nanotechnology, just like synthetic biology. And now we're incorporating an RNA sequence that can now attach to your RNA sequence. Isn't that a lot of fun? In the new study, specialized circuits known as, the tiny circuit switches are tripped when messages in the form, we got it through that. The RNA switches can be combined in various ways to produce more complex logic gates capable of evaluating and responding to multiple inputs. Quantum dots are in just about everybody today. Quantum dots does a similar feature. But the way it works with your biofilm and with your cells and with your muscles and with any kind of ligand. And it attaches itself to the ligand to form a circuit or full ring. The new study dramatically improves the ease in which cellular computing can be carried out. The RNA-only approach to producing cellular nanodevices is a significant advance, as earlier efforts required the use of complex intermediaries like protein. Now, the necessary ribo computing parts can be readily designed on a computer, 3D printer. The simple base pairing properties of RNA's four nucleotide letters are A, C, G, and U ensure the predictable self-assembly, and functioning of these parts within a living cell. The first experiments were in 2012, according to them. Again, when you start digging and researching, you may find it was basically done back in the 1970s or 1960s, but again, you won't see that till whatever. The possibility of using DNA and RNA, the molecules of life, to perform computer-like computations was first demonstrated in 1994. Like I said, it went earlier. Such molecular computing has been accomplished within living cells. Bacterial cells are usually employed for the purpose as they are simple and easier to manipulate. Your intestinal tract, your stomach, your skin is loaded with bacteria. This allows researchers to design RNA circuits that can be activated when a complementary RNA strand binds with the exposed RNA sequence in the designed circuit. This binding of complementary strands in regular... Okay, the same thing all over again. One thing they decided to do here is they decided to produce these RNA gates, if you will, the ability to perform many operations at the same time. This capacity for parallel processing permits faster and more sophisticated computation while making efficient use of the limited resources of the cell. Okay, in the new study, logic gates known as and or not, which are basically programming, produces an output in the cell only when two RNA messages A and B are present, or and or gate respond to either A or B, while A not gate will block out output if given. So basically, you got a very basic program at this point based on this research that I've got here. So combining these gates can produce complex logic capable of responding to multiple inputs. First, rival computing devices capable of 4 input and 6 input, and a 12 input device able to carry out a complex combination of and, or, and not logic known as disjunctive normal form expression. See, the thing is with health today, and I've been saying this for quite some time, that in order to maintain your health and to sustain your health, you are going to have to protect your DNA. You're going to have to protect your genetic code. You're going to have to protect the mitochondria, because these are the very foundations that they're going after. They're going after your very core. You are the building block for the future technology. You know, so this is serious, because again, we've got frequencies now. 5G. Okay, let's talk about 5G for a quick second. 5G, when that gets fully activated, you are probably going to see an outbreak of synthetic biology on people like you've never seen before. What they're calling Morgellons is a form of synthetic biology. It's a combination of nanotechnology and biology combined or integrated. And so far, everybody has been paying attention to is the handful of people that have said something about Morgellons. But when that hits, that frequency is going to hyperactivate that programming in people. It's going to go right to the hypothalamus, right to the very core of the brain, and it's going to trigger something. And you're going to see, and mark my words, you can even date the show when it happens. When that gets kicked on, you are going to see people with all kinds of severe outbreak with this tech. And the solution may be to, here's a chip that will subside the program. Or here's some RNA we're going to put into your body. It's going to access your RNA. It's going to shut this down. Something to that effect. This is nothing in the last 57 years that was ever made was made for the benefit of humanity. It was always for military purposes. Always. Remember when they came out with nuclear energy? Oh, it's going to be able to power our cities, and it's going to power our boats, and blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, we're in an arms race with Russia. And it just kind of makes you wonder if there was really a race. So when you're looking at, again, today's time, you're going to have to think in different terms. You're going to be dealing with technologies that are going to go after your genetic code. You're going to be dealing with technologies that are going to infect your RNA. You're going to be dealing with technologies that are going to be infecting your cells. This has already started. This has already been initiated back in the 1960s when they added silica dioxide in food supply. That's your diatomaceous earth. Okay, they put it in everything. Everything. Doesn't matter. Like I said, if you go on my site, augmentedforce.com, and look at the nanotransformation link, you will see the study there. So, and like I said, you're going to just be blown away by it. And then when you start to think, and you need to start to think in these terms, if they did that to the food supply, what else did they add to the food supply that they never told us? Maybe mad cow disease wasn't such a thing about mad cow, but silica overload in the cow's brain causing a short circuit in the central nervous system. Maybe that's all it was. Because like I said, silica shuts down cellular communication. Imagine what happens when it gets to the brain, and the brain cells have to communicate with each other in order to get things done in the body. What else did they put into the food supply? Well, we know they've got titanium dioxide in the food supply, which I'm going to talk about that. There was actually a study done on this, and people with colitis and any kind of intestinal disorder going on should not be eating anything with titanium dioxide, because that does penetrate and permeate into the lining and then goes through the lining. It actually perforates the lining. Anything nano on a metal level, okay, that gets inside the body will go through the body like it's not even there. It's in your brain, it's in your thyroid, it's in your thymus, it's in your heart, it's in your lungs, it's in your spleen, it's in your pancreas, it's in your stomach, in your intestinal tract, in your liver, in your kidneys, in your reproductive system, it's in your sac, it's in the egg. Can you imagine that? What is going to come forth in the future when two people, if it's even possible for them to copulate, what would happen if two people copulate and produce a baby loaded on the cellular level with bio-nanotechnology? See, I think myself, this is a hypothesis, but my thinking is this: for women who don't eat soy those who don't get vaccinated, and kids are still coming out autistic, then you got to ask that question: what is going on then? Why are these kids coming out autistic if the mom did not give them a vaccine? So then you got to think, what did mom eat? Okay, did she eat the soy, which would have been loaded with the nano? Did she eat any of the wheat? Again, would have been loaded with the nano. Did she eat any gluten-free? Yes, that would have been loaded with the nano. You know, what did she eat that would have saturated her egg with the nano? See, and then again, that would have gotten into the genetic code and started again being incorporated into the coding. It's on a molecular level, on a billionth scale. So what happens with these metals when a child is forming? Nanosilica, we know, shorts out the circuitry in the cells. What happens if that gets in? Is that shorting out the communication network as the child is supposed to be developing, as the RNA and DNA are running their program? Does that turn it off, or does that screw it up? Does it cause a short circuit? You know, these are questions that need to be looked at by an independent, involved party. Because anytime Monsanto looks at their research, of course it's okay, it's always good. There's no fault. It's perfect. It's never going to give you a problem. The most weaponized food on the planet is not going to give you a problem, because they said so. And anybody that comes up with a different study, they shut it down. So that's what I'm saying. We need studies done on these nanoparticles on a level where, okay, what happens when the sperm and the egg meet and they have these particulates? And because they're not going to have one particle, they're going to have thousands of particles embedded in each cell. When they start to split, they're going to split with it. These cells go into the brain and cause this condition. You know, this, like I said, I'm trying to get you to think. This is just a hypothetical discussion I'm throwing out there, so to get you to think, so you're aware of the consequences of this technology. You just don't blindly accept it. So anyway, before I go on, I'm always talking about supporting the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. So again, support them. Give them what you can. Help them out any way you can. I'm always talking about two activists here in Canada, byebyebluesky.com and gagcanada.com. Bernadette Green with Gag Canada and Susan Marr, Bye Bye Blue Sky. Again, go on their sites, check them out. If you can give them a hand, do so. Get the word out. We are being fumigated by chemtrails. I did put out a new video. It's out there today. Healing without the BS. Anyway, we showed you how to make a cream for those of you who are, I'll find the link during the break and I'll put it up in the chat room as well. But there's a new video we put out there today. Dave released it, and so it's about how to treat some of the lesions that may be happening with some of you who have the nano poisoning. You've had the outbreaks, you've had the stuff drain out, you've had it pus out. And again, this will help you. It will help that heal a little bit, just to give you an idea, give you a hand. You also can get a hold of me down here at 519-977-5351. If you need a consultation, feel free to give me a shout. We can work things out. You can contact me. We can do it through Skype or email. Oh, I hear the music. All right, so I'll cut this short. We'll come back to this next half, and we'll continue on being nano-informed. All right, see you in a bit. Hey everybody, welcome to part 2 of The Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pantelleresco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. You can access the show by typing in www.themicroeffect.com. Then click on the appropriate link, the chat room links. Come on in, make friends, get acquainted, solve some issues, save the planet, cooperate. Also am published on different sites at byebyebluesky.com, Health-Access, and other places, so feel free to find me everywhere. I also have with articles on health, remedies, and general information going on worldwide and right here at home. This program is designed to help you keep your health and to show viable and inexpensive alternatives that can keep you and your family healthy, and to alleviate or remove unwanted illnesses that may occur in our lives from time to time, making you aware that not all that's supposed to be safe is, in some cases, allowing to understand the hidden dangers and a possible solution to prevention or protection of your health. I've been in the health food industry as well as a personal consultant and bodybuilder trainer, assisting people in finding health solutions, and have utilized different healing modalities from different cultural themes as well as in herbs, supplements, vitamins, essential oils, and foods. You can access me by going to my website at augmentinforce.com, augmentinforce.com. I also do personal consultations as well, whether through the internet, through the IMs, phones, personal visits, as well as in-house workshops for families, individuals, or groups. On my website at augmentinforce.com, there is a catalog link, several places actually, and you can click on that and you will see that there is a flash drive there. It's a fully complete package. It has in it, books, databases, interviews, shows, videos, all in one. We also have books on DVD. They're separate, or you can buy them all at once, either way. And we also have other remedies there that may help you. So feel free to check it out if there's something you need. And if something you don't see there and you need something, let me know what it is. I may have it. You can let's see, where am I at here now? Okay. So again, if you want to get a hold of me, feel free to do so at independs@yahoo.com. Or contact me here at 519-977-5351. If you have any questions or comments you'd like to make on the show, feel free to do so pertaining to the topic, 208-935-0094. And today's date again is July 29, 2017. I'm going to talk a little bit about continuing the topic that I'm on. About nano and silica, and somebody asked me a question about, saving beans. Okay, the thing with beans is this. They are a protein, but they are a low-end protein, and they have a high phytate content. So you're going to have to sustain or supply some kind of mineral balance with this. In other words, you got to take more minerals with it because they'll strip them out. And it's not a complete protein. Contrary to what they told you about soy and other beans, they are not a complete protein. They never were. So again, when you're looking at some of the things that they tell you about these foods, they are half not even half correct sometimes. So you're not going to get your whole protein content there. You're going to have to do protein combining. In other words, combining that with some other foods. So again, keep that in mind. Usually, the combination was beans and rice, but that today is not going to be a doable thing. Because again, rice has been genetically engineered, and it too has a lot of silica in it. So again, be aware of that. Now, Google asked me, what about these plants for... Okay, I'm trying to figure this out. Tony, what about those plants that have silica? You can't eat it? You can eat everything you want, but the thing is, number one, you're not going to absorb silica. Number two, if it gets in the system, you can't break it down. So now it's going to be translocate in the system. If it's bound with the fiber, it's going to pass through you, but you're still going to absorb some of it. Don't think you're not. A lot of things that they've told you about it has been, again, at best, an exaggeration. We have been exposed to such a high level of this metal, okay, and again, the only way you can break it down is if you're using silic acid or phosphoric acid, or you can transfer it into the cell by using a saponin content or a phosphorus content. So let's say you mix it with sunflower lecithin. The sunflower lecithin will help to carry it into the system. IP6, which is basically an osteophosphate, it'll carry it into the system. So when we're looking at a lot of things that are going on, not everything is what it's cracked up to be. Look, they're selling strontium in the health food store. And if you look up strontium, it actually displaces calcium out of the skeletal system. So why is that being sold? Why is that even in there? Because it's basically a form of hijacking persons so that if they take this product, if there's silica in their system or other nanoparticles, it's now going to be better able to penetrate the skeletal structure because the skeletal structure has been weakened. How many of you are from the 50s and have had dental issues all your life? Okay, did you ever think to tie that to the vaccines we've got? Okay, we were exposed to fluoride. Fluoride, again, does a number on the oral cavity. It does a number on the skeletal system. Okay, but the vaccines that they gave us also altered our genetic code. It shut down some of the functionalities that our body would normally have intact. So when we're looking at, the things that we need to consider, what caused these problems, and a lot of that was live culture, a lot of that had nanotechnology in it too. They would call ultrafine particles at that point, or angstrom units. So basically, when we're looking at some of the stuff that we're dealing with, today in our health, you can, like I said, tie it back to our infrastructure coming unglued by their interference. We were an experiment. So now we're at this stage where we're trying to repair our bodies and get healthy. And so now we have to look at the reconstructing of the genetic code, constructing and fortifying the skeletal system. We're looking at refortifying our cells. We're looking at refortifying our mitochondria from the damage that's been done, from the damages that we have endured. Okay. When you look at the workforce, the labor, okay, I was a laborer. I worked in factories. I worked as a truck driver, and the jobs we've had and the things we've been exposed to as laborers was meant to kill us, expire us at an exponential rate because of some of the, at that time, the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I mean, they were just installing pollution devices and environmental safety that they didn't have before. Guys were losing their hands and their fingers. They were being exposed to high toxic chemicals. They were sent home to die, more or less, and they were working long hours. It was unreal what was going on. We've gone right back to that again. People are working longer hours and hardly any money to warrant the time they're putting into a job, and they're being exposed to things, and if they complain, they could lose the job. This is the reality of today. I mean, the unions are useless. They have no. They're not there for the benefit of the worker anymore. Majority of the unions today are basically just there to collect a paycheck. You know, another institution, another leash, or another collar on the labor. But there's no real protection today. You know, and your job can be gone to China or Mexico or wherever they want to send it tomorrow. So this is where it's always been, and this is the fear factor and the anxiety levels that they put on people. So a lot of this has played its role, and then the environmental exposures that we've had, you know, in the water supply. There's over 70,000 pollutants in the water supply. There are trillions of nanoparticles up in the atmosphere that we have no idea what they are, and we're breathing that in. And it all got there in the last 50 years. So a lot of the stuff that's been happening to a lot of us today, you could tie it to the vaccines we've gotten. You could tie it to the environmental exposures we've had. You can tie it to the food supply that was, again, manipulated. You know, and without any concern or testing. There was no test done on silicon dioxide. Never was. And when you look at the actual damage that this can do to you, it's mind-boggling that was ever even put in the food supply. But then again, that's par for the course. And then the doctors, some are smart enough to figure it out. Some don't have a clue. Some will just keep giving you a drug, you know, an anti-inflammatory, which doesn't really help you because meanwhile, while the inflammation is going down, the stuff is still attacking the skeletal system or the cells or the mitochondria, causing more and more damage. And like I said, when you actually look at this technology and what we've been exposed to, it's the same principles that they're doing with the GMOs and the genetically engineered foods. Inserting a program into the seed, activating it with a protein or an enzyme, and triggering the program to alter its composition to make it do something it was never meant to do. And then when we eat these proteins, they don't respond well with us. The food now has become an alien to our biology. So you eat this stuff, and you eat this stuff thinking that it's safe because somebody told you it was safe. Oh, maybe the people who made the stuff told you it was safe. And so as a result, after so many decades of eating these things, all of a sudden now you got a gut cancer. I mean, soy is great for you. Eat soy, 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 soy. Soy is good for you. Soy is good for you women. It'll protect you from skeletal damage. It'll protect your breasts. It'll protect your uterus. It'll protect your cervix and your ovaries. Oh, it's good for you. Eat, 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 eat. Then they tell you, and then all of a sudden you got a thyroid condition going on. Your thyroid's not working properly because your thyroid's now is either hypo because it's been damaged to a certain point, or it's hyper because it's inflamed. Or you've got all of a sudden you got endometriosis going on. All of a sudden your uterus is growing because your iodine, you have no iodine, and you've been adding all this estrogenically based foods which have been genetically engineered or added with glyphosates, which further causes corruption in the digestive system and the endocrine system. But you're being, sold by the health food industry that soy is good for you. So like I said, when you start looking at some of this stuff, you start looking at your health issues, and then they tell you on top of that to go eat broccoli. Eat your broccoli, it'll protect you from breast cancer. Eat your broccoli, eat your cruciferous vegetables, and then your thyroid goes haywire. Because you're indulging yourself with kale and broccoli and cabbage and radishes and daikon and anything else that's of the mustard leaf and all these other cruciferous plants. You're eating all the stuff and your thyroid's going all wacky because it's a goitrogenic food. And when you eat these things, they become accumulative. And they know this, to keep you coming back to buy more. And then when you buy the pills, what are you buying? You're buying a contaminated capsule that has silicon dioxide, microcrystalline cellulose, aluminum lake, titanium dioxide, nano silver, artificial natural flavors, and the list goes on and on. So this is why, when I'm showing you stuff on YouTube, if you're going to buy supplements, buy them in bulk, buy them so that they're clean, you encapsulate them, you put the stuff into them that you want to put into them, and learn how to do this without adding junk to it. If you want to add something that's going to be a neutralizing agent, add baking soda inside the pill. Let's say you got two acids there that may react. Let's say you got ascorbic acid and alpha-lipoic acid, a sulfur and a C. Well, when they're in the capsule, they may react because you got two acids and they may go after the protein. So what do? You mix a little baking soda with the solution, with the mixture, put it in the capsule, and then when you drink it or swallow the pill, it gets in the stomach and releases. So like I said, we have to start thinking, because the people that you are putting your faith in to watch over the food supply, like the FDA, Health Protection Branch of Canada, IG Farben, the European Food and Safety Authority, Codex Alimentarius, they don't give a rat's backside about you. And they will do whatever they want to do and pass whatever they think is safe without any, anything, without thinking twice. Tony, can ozone help out with anything, or is this BS? Ozone therapy has its merit. It does. It can help. I mean, there was a study. I was looking at some studies done by the Canadian government, and it was actually treating the STD condition they were calling AIDS, this virus that they created. They were using it, and they were going to implement it to about 80 prisoners, and they tried it with six or seven of them. They used the ozone therapy and the hydrogen peroxide therapy on them, and within a day they cut the test, told to shut it down. The 80 guys, the 6 or 7 that they treated, actually lived for 10 years before they died. The rest of them died within a year or two. So yeah, there is merit to it. Just because, like I said, you need to research, not go by the hocus pocus that these guys are selling you. Okay, look at the actual studies. If you go to the Hathy Library, HATHI Library, it's a archive, and you may even find that study that the Canadian government did on ozone therapy in that archive. So again, the archive is HATHI, I think .org, if I'm not mistaken. And again, just type in the bar, in the space bar there, but the ozone therapy tested by the Canadian government. See what you get. So again, a lot of us who have been afflicted, who are going through afflictions now, are dealing with things from the past. And again, some of the reasons why you're not recovering like you used to when you were younger is because, not because you're older, it's because you're exposed to more crap now than you ever were. Tony, veg gelatin or bovine capsules. Bovine, never go with vegan. That's insanity. Again, vegan capsules are made by, they're polymer material made by pine fiber. You'll never break that down. And again, that is a type of cellulose material that the nanotechnology will use. So again, when we're looking at the reason why it's taken us so long to recover, because of what we're exposed to today, the level of exposure we're having today. If you really want to see how bad nanoparticles are in your life, go into your homes, turn off the light, have a green laser, fire the laser. All of a sudden, you will see metallic flecks in your room. Now, isn't that something? Now, you got to ask yourself this question: where did that metallic particle come from? Because you will see the dust in the beam. The dust it'll actually give you a Tyndale effect, and all of a sudden, dust particles that will come in there will be of reflective metal. Can't see it with the naked eye. So again, when we're looking at this stuff, that's the level of saturation we're having. And a lot of us today are looking at ways of, again, reducing the nano in the home. Outside, we can't do too much until they stop chemtrailing the skies. You're going to be constantly in a daily state of detoxification and reloading. Okay, you're going to take things out with either Epsom salt, you're going to take things out with trisodium phosphate, you're going to take things out with EDTA, you're going to take things out with sodium thiosulfate, you're going to take things out with pectin, you're going to take things out with charcoal. Don't use the bentonite clays, don't use the diatomaceous earth. The bentonite clays would have lead in them. You know, they've always been known to have lead in them, and if they are on a nanoscale, contrary to what they tell you, it will permeate through the intestinal tract. I'm not one for using clays, period. I would have used, the only one I was using was diatomaceous earth until I discovered this research, which opened my eyes to this is not a good idea. So when we're looking at the situations we're in this time, remember, we are living today, 2017. I don't care if you're a vegan. I don't care if you're a vegetarian. I don't care if you're a raw food eater. I don't care if you're a meat eater. I don't care if you're living off of dairy. We are all being exposed, okay, to these particles, to this technology, to the synthetic biology. Yeah, like I said, use the bovine. Okay, Tony, no, I meant vegetable. No, never use the vegetable, ever. The veggie caps are garbage. They were, again, this is another con that they presented. Again, it's a cellulose material that works with nanotechnology. If you're going to use anything, use your gelatin, your bovine gelatin capsules. That's a protein. Make sure you drink lots of water with it so it dissolves and breaks down and releases its payload. But yes, you know. Now, the other thing I'm going to start telling you to use, too, is white vinegar. I'm not telling you to use apple cider. I'm telling you to use white vinegar, because that white vinegar has a lot of therapeutic properties, and for a lot of you, you can't afford to buy $6 and $7 for a 16-ounce bottle of apple cider vinegar. And any vinegar has benefit. Any of them. So the cheap one is like for $2 a gallon. You can go, or whatever, 3 liters. You can go to a grocery store and get the white vinegar, and it don't matter if it's the distillation. Basically, is another form of purification. But once it's fermented down to a vinegar, nothing's really going to live in it, and it's one of the best things you can use to help you in digesting your food. It's one of the acids that's required by the stomach and the intestinal tract to protect it from tumors. And when you actually look at the research on it, what they used to treat diabetics even with foot sores was white vinegar that you buy at the grocery store. So this is another thing that this has been going on, and this is the unethical practice this industry does. It attacks something that really does work, so that they can sell some product that does the exact same thing or is the exact same thing but packaged differently. When it comes to baking soda, Arm & Hammer was always knocked for having some kind of contaminant. And another doctor looked into that to validate that and found that there was nothing in their products that warranted that kind of, there's some aluminum content, that warranted that fear. So again, if you get some Arm & Hammer, that would be another thing I would be stockpiling. If you're still uncomfortable with it, then I would tell you to use, to go get it, and buy it by 50-pound bags, because that stuff's going to be worth its weight in gold as far as helping you detoxify from radioactive material. Vinegar and baking soda are 2 things I would stockpile. I mean, you can treat all kinds of wounds with that. You can clean all kinds of things with it. You can use it as a digestive aid. You can use it as a protectant. Did you know that white vinegar kills tuberculosis? So those of you who've got a pleurisy issue going on or a tuberculosis issue going on, start using white vinegar, tablespoon 4 or 5 times a day. Drink it in every 3 hours. And then take your iodine with it as well to reinforce the effect. But this is something, and this is, I mean, like I said, it's a mind-boggling thing when you see what has been hidden in plain sight. And like I said, the unethical practices that are going on by these companies now, supposedly, who are trying to help you be healthy. But the problem with the health food industry, it's been bought out by the drug industry. And a lot of companies that are still there have been bought out. So a lot of the stuff that you're seeing now, they're making it almost the same way they're making their version of vitamins. It's all garbage, just junk. You know, when you look at one product and all it's got is toxic metal inside the pill, and they're using a binding agent to, again is made with some sort of nanotechnology, you just scratch your head. So when you're looking at things today, keep it simple. Sometimes the simplest remedies does the best for you. Iodine is a simple remedy that will do tons of things for you. Copper is another simple remedy. You know, vinegar, white vinegar is another simple remedy to have on hand. You know, you can even make your garlic and vinegar extract with that. It'll work. You know, you can add a little selenium with that, with the garlic. Like I said, there are things you can do that are very t0ny eyes, nano webbing over eyes. Okay, start using. This is what I do for that. Get the white vinegar, get some borax, and I got that miracle soap. Now again, I'm looking for another alternative, but I mix. What do I mix? I mix probably a tablespoon of borax in there with about 50-50 of the vinegar with the miracle soap. I shake it up, dissolve it, and I use that. And again, you brush it real fine across the eyes, above the eyebrow, along the temple, under the eye, because the webbing is going up and down all around, and that will just break it up. As well, you might want to dissolve either a little borax in the water. It'll turn into boric acid. It will help break down the biofilm buildup in the eyes as well, or use just regular sea salt, or use MSM. Okay, these are things you may start having to look at. So again, when we're looking at what we have to do today, keep it simple. Elements, like I said, your minerals like zinc, copper, manganese, iodine, boron. I'm working on a document right now. Hopefully I'll have it up maybe by this week, maybe. Where I'm going to talk about the key elements that you require to sustain, support the immune system, the mitochondria, the DNA, the genetic code, even the chromosomes. If you go on my website at augmentedforce.com, there is a link. There's a script of the show either in May or April, or maybe even there's a January, February. There may be links in there to talk about how to regenerate the genetic code, things that you might want to have. Things like gelatin might be something you may want to consider having as well, because gelatin is a protein that your body can utilize in regarding to, again, building the body. Egg and gelatin, make a broth. Simplest little protein you can make that can sustain and fortify your system. Learn how to make whey. Basically, the simplest way to do that is get milk with fat in it. Put about 2 quarts, 2.5 quarts. Add a little, either add enzymes or rennet. Rennet basically are enzymes from the sheep's stomach. And put it in there. Bring it to a boil. Let it just heat up for about 5 minutes. Shut it off. Let it cool overnight. The next day, strain it. You got cheese on one hand, or either ricotta or cottage cheese, and on the other hand, you've got whey. That is so easy to assimilate for minerals and small amounts of protein. That is what even the vegans should be using, because at that point it is a full-on nutrient thing. So anyone who's lactose intolerant can drink the whey. There won't be an issue there. So this is another bodybuilding food. Okay, another bodybuilding food. Tell you what's good for an enlarged thyroid. Walmart. Go to Walmart, take out the old thyroid, get a new one, no more. You have an enlarged thyroid because you have an iodine and selenium deficiency, and possibly a tyrosine deficiency. When they're testing today for thyroid, it's a hilarious joke. They're not even testing the thyroid. They're testing the tyrosine levels in the thyroid. That's what they're actually testing. So the T4 and T3 has nothing to do with the iodine. So again, you may need to up the iodine, you may need to up the selenium, you may need to up the tyrosine. There's something else there too that could work. Not sure if it's boron or not off the top of my head, but those 3 for sure. Get on the Lugos. That's been the best one I've seen. Or the nascent. Nascent will work too. Nascent works a little differently than the Lugos. It is more readily taken into the thyroid. But Lugos, I think, does far more as far as protecting the whole body from radiation and from infections, and helps sustain the immune system. So again, and again, stay away from the cruciferous vegetables. That's your cauliflower, that's your broccoli, that's your kale. They come out with that kale. Oh, kale, the new super vegetable, blah, 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 blah. That's how they sell it. Get you all worked up into a frenzy. And you go, oh yeah, kale's really good for you. Oh yeah, kale. And then you run to the store, you buy the stuff, and you eat the stuff by the pound, and then you have a thyroid issue because nobody reads that this thing can have goitrogenic effects. So again, when they come up with the hype, when they come up with their little ditty, to sell you some new and improved. I get people writing me all the time, emailing me saying, oh, this guy came out with a cucumber vitamin C. And I says, yeah, I know. An overpriced nothing. And he's got all this research and blah, blah, blah. And then one little bottle, like not even an ounce bottle, is $45. That's a scam. That's a scam, and you should be able to see that as a scam. $45 for a low profile, or you got a whole food vitamin C because it's got all it is bioflavonoid with very little C's in it. It ain't gonna do jack diddly. And then you're paying $25 for 60 pills. Like, really? $4.25 a pill, or $4.10 a pill? Stick with what works. Stick with what has been tried and proven. A lot of things is just gimmickry today. And then look at when you're looking at your bottles as well. Read the other ingredients. I don't care how much vitamin C it's got in it. I don't care how much vitamin B it's got in it. I don't care how clean it's showing. Read the ingredients. The label is deceptive. Trying to make the labels look more pharmaceutical so you get more, oh yeah, that must be a good one. Look at the bottle. It's got to be a special bottle. Ooh, and then you jump on it and then you read it's got 10 things in it that you shouldn't be taking in your body. So again, when you're looking in the, when you're looking at these things they tell you, be aware that if you overload on anything, okay, it can and it will cause you problems. Women are very susceptible to a lot of the endocrine disrupting chemicals. The thiocyanides from the cruciferous vegetables. Get very, very susceptible to that. The aluminum in the sky, the aluminum in the food, very susceptible. To the soys and to the glyphosates, extremely susceptible. So you gals, like I said, need to really pay attention to what they're telling you. Because a lot of times, if it's you they're trying to hijack, it's you they're trying to stop in the reproduction level, it's you that they're trying to alter in the head, to create whatever dynamic that they're trying to create with you. It's you that are trying to break down. You got to remember, they were unassembling women since the 1950s. They're taking out their uteruses, they're taking out their ovaries, they're taking out their breasts. They were taking out they're burning out their thyroids. They're doing all kinds of wonderful, crazy crap to the women. So, like I said, when you hear these sensationalized products, put the brake on it. Don't be caught up in that rage or that rave to get involved. Oh yeah, I gotta try it. Think about it before you step into it. Because before you know it, you got something else breaking down because you've been overloading on this product, creating imbalances. So again, when you're looking at what we're exposed to today, what we have been exposed to today and yesterday, a lot of it is chemistry. Accumulated chemistry that now you're adding another chemical to your system, which is going to create another chemical reaction. Now what you're trying to do is you're trying to neutralize the chemicals that were put there before. But if you're taking things that are going to augment or agitate or increase the effect of what you've already been exposed to, then you're going to break down a heck of a lot faster. And that's the reality behind it all. So, like I said, don't look before you leap. Don't believe everything you're hearing. I tell people now not to eat kale, not to eat collard greens, not to eat cabbage, not to eat lettuce. Anything grown above the ground, I'm telling people to leave alone. Because you are getting, unless it's grown in a greenhouse, I will tell you, leave it alone. Because you're loading yourself up with nanometals. And if you haven't got a scope, then find someone who's got a microscope and look at your vegetables under a microscope. You are going to be surprised at what you see. I don't care if it's in your garden, your neighbor's garden, in a organic market, a supposedly organic market, a non-organic market. You are going to see metal on the plants like you've never seen before. So again, anything that's above the ground, leave it alone. Somebody brought me in some dandelion the other day, and it wasn't normal. We looked at the leaves, and the leaves were all kinds of colors, different shades of yellow and green. So we looked under the scope, and guess what? It was saturated with the stuff from the sky, or somebody put something on it, but it was loaded with metal. If it's above the ground, leave it alone. Potatoes consume. They have the fiber that will also bind with the nano on some level. Cassava consume, yam consume, carrots, parsnips, ginger, turmeric, beets, celery root. These are things you may want to start to look at. Anything you're going to grow above the ground is going to be contaminated, bar none. I don't care if you spray or you don't. They're going to spray it. They're going to spray your environment anyway with the chemtrails. So again, that's what you're going to be dealing with. And like I said, right now 5G isn't on yet. When 5G gets turned on, and if you've got enough of that material inside your body, you are going to get activated. That frequency is going to turn on a lot of people. So you can try to grow these things indoors, but you're probably going to have to do something even indoors, because like I said, if you take a laser and fire a laser in your home, you are going to see metallic materials in the house. Don't assume anything. Try it. Look, see for yourself. That's the planet we live on right now, and the people or the authorities that are running this planet are causing this malfunction. You know, the chemtrails should never have been released. Never. And here they are up in the air, floating around, flying. You know, every day you see, you know, tubular things happening, spreading out all over the place, you know, misting up, hitting. You can see waves where the frequencies have hit them, and all kinds of wonderful things. So again, you know, when you're looking at the wonderful things that we're exposed to today, okay, and what we've been exposed to, those of us again who've come from that era of time, you're having difficulties. A lot of you are having difficulties with vision. A lot of you are having difficulties with memory. A lot of you are having difficulties with aches and pains. A lot of you are having difficulties with heart, diabetes. The diabetes itself may not be as a result of an insulin issue, but more of a nano poisoning issue. You know, the exposure over time has caused a lot of buildup in these organs. So again, be aware that not everything we're hearing on that is accurate either. It's some of the stuff, like I said, you've got to go back and you've got to sort of reinvestigate what you've seen, some of the things that you've heard, some of the nonsense that has been accepted as fact, some of the stuff ain't what it is, you know. And again, you're going to be surprised. A lot of you will be surprised at how much of it has been a fiction or a fabrication. And even some of the gurus out there today, you know, they're pushing whatever they're pushing because they made a deal and bought a huge lot of something, and now they're trying to sell it. You know, here we go. Hey, we got this waiting for you. Come get it. You know, come take a look. Have a good time. Take some of this. See what it does. I'm getting you guys the link now. It's called Skin Formula Without BS. So I'm giving you the link in the chat room. So those of you who are out there who are not in the chat room, you may, if you want, I have a new YouTube out. Putting it in now. Oh, anyway, the video is called. Geez, here we go. Okay, it's called Skin Formula Without the BS. Dave just released it a little while ago. We're already up to 1,468 views. So it's basically being viewed, watched. Again, go take a look. You know, see what, again, now if you know anybody who's got the nano, who's got skin issues going on, you can, you know, have a look at this. You can even tell them to, same thing, to wash with vinegar and borax. It seems to really make a difference as far as embedding, getting the stuff that might be deep into the skin as well. You might see a lot of things come out. And like I said, I've combined it with Miracle Soap, borax, and vinegar. Now I'm going to be fooling around up the way and experimenting with other materials, because the Miracle Soap can be expensive too. So again, when we're looking at things that can help you, this is another remedy that may help some of you who've already had the afflictions, have had the skin lesions, had the infections. You know, you're afraid to go outside because you have, you know, whatever damage has been done by this technology. So again, there it is, something that you can, if you know somebody, share it with them, you know, to help them out. It's only human to help another human who's been afflicted. You know, this is becoming the new leprosy. Now, this is becoming the new leprosy. So when you're looking at what you can do, again, you can clean this really easy with vinegar and borax, and again, not Epsom salt, Miracle Soap. You may want to try just a simple borax, dilute some borax in water, and then just add the vinegar to it and try just using that. I have not done that yet, but that's an idea. That was the next thing I was going to try. So again, but it's there for you, so take a look. In regard to I was going to talk about something here. Give me a second. Yeah, crops that kill pests by shutting off their genes. Now, this is an interesting concept here. Now, if you pay attention to this is going to raise an eyebrow. Okay, as chemical pesticides raise concerns over insect-resistant collateral environmental damage and human exposure risks, transgenic methods, which means they're using, again, genetic technology, are becoming an attractive option for future pest control. For instance, certain strains of corn and cotton have been modified to produce a protein toxin from the bacterium Bacillus thuringiensis, or BT. That poisons certain worms, beetles, and moths. It also poisons people. Causes tumors to form in rats. But anyway, RNA interference adds another degree of subtlety by, instead of shutting down essential genes in pests that consume crops. Now, let me read this again so you get what's going on here. RNA interference adds another degree of subtlety by, instead of shutting down essential genes in pests that consume crops. So this is now, we're putting a transgenic material in the plant to create a genetic, a DNA or genetic integration with whatever feeds on it, so that their DNA now gets, or RNA, sorry, gets shut down. RNA interference-based pest control can provide protection at essentially no cost, because once the variety is developed, the plant can just go on using it instead of needling additional applications of insecticides. An RNA interference strategy would address environmental and human toxicity questions. See, again, this is not tested. This is what they're throwing out there as a sales pitch. When we target a key pest with RNA interference technology, what we are really hoping for is to see a big reduction in overall insecticide use. They're not, see, and this is how you have to understand what they're doing here. They're leaning really heavy on the idea that we're now going to quit using chemicals in the environment. There's nothing here talking about RNA interference. If it's going to interfere with their RNA, what's that going to do to us when we eat it? Okay. The issue of human toxicity will increase and make things just as bad. Instead of xenoestrogens or another synthetic, you are going to now get something on a genetic order, which, when released into the atmosphere, has way too many unpredictabilities and increasing genetic damage to the environment and the runoff where it goes. Atrazine is a prime example. The runoff affected the amphibians to a point where their genetic code was altered, where their males were transgendered to females, and the females acquired androgenic effects. Again, notice the term, and I want to point this out here. We were talking about transgender. Notice the term transgenic methods. Did you catch that? Transgenic methods. Do you think possibly, again, this is all hypothetical, but do you think possibly that the transgenic methods cause a transgender anomaly in human biology? Just a thought. Just a hypothesis. Don't you find that the similarities in the terminology? Transgenic methods that cause a transgender effect on the amphibians. Why wouldn't that have caused the same effect on humans? Or did it, and now because it has happened, now we are hiding the fact, and now we are no longer going to be calling men, men, and women, women. We're not going to gender the female and male population any longer. Because this again buries that mistake. This buries that crime that was committed against humanity. Never noticed that? The word transgenic. When you're looking at genetically modified anything or genetically engineered anything, the term they use also is called transgenic. Now, I found that interesting when I read that initially. I thought, interesting. Transgenic, transgender. I wonder if there's a connection. Something that makes me go, how many of you have children today? How many of you are feeding them soy today? How many of you are feeding them canola? How many are you feeding them grains, cereals, bread? You got a double whammy. You got, not only do you have the transgenic effect, you also have the nano effect. Additionally, even when certain target genes are similar across species, optimally designed RNA fragments only inhibit one species and its closest relatives, rather than overwhelming non-threatening insects as some chemical pesticides. Again, this is all theoretical. Again, to sell you on the idea that we're now going to fool around with more genetic engineering. Not we, I should say. That's an erroneous statement. But they are going to be fooling around with more genetically engineered material or transgenic methods. We already have an issue with the human race breaking down and not knowing what gender it is because the chromosomes never shut down properly at the point of birth. Earlier attempts at pest control through genetic modification that have involved engineering plants to produce proteins toxic to certain insects have prompted concerns about what happens to those proteins when the crop is harvested and ingested. The objections to transgenic proteins involve concerns about their possible toxicity or allergenicity to humans. Now, isn't this interesting? That they know that there are effects to allergenic effects to the foods that they're growing on a genetic level because the proteins are not the same. But with RNA interference strategy, there's no protein that is made, just some extra RNA. Now, this is such a hoot. What is RNA made of? Ribose nucleic acids. Where did the nucleic acids come from? Some protein. You know, it's incredible what they're talking about here. Scientists have not yet found a way to transform the chloroplast genomes of cereal grains such as rice and corn. I mean, they're calling this RNA interference technology. I mean, seriously, anybody who's reading this needs to read this with their eyes wide open. Nothing that they've ever done has worked. They've hidden the fact that the genetic engineering, the transgenic technology that they've used, anybody who's came up and shown where the technology was faulty was either eliminated by removing them out of the public eye or removed them out of the institutions where they worked. You have to understand that this technology was as safe as they say it is. Why isn't there a public expose being done on this? California right now is fighting Monsanto and saying that the glyphosates are a toxic, a carcinogen. So now Monsanto is going after the state of California. So what is that saying about Monsanto? What are they saying about Monsanto? See, again, you have to recognize that the fallacy of this game. They are not there to help you become healthy. The medical field no longer is there to help you become healthy. You may find the odd physician or the odd pharmacist that does care, but you are not going to find the medical industry going to help you. The drug industry doesn't give a rat's backside about you. They will poison you with whatever crap they want to poison you with, and they have no qualm about doing it. So again, the onus is going to be on you to be educated, illuminated, and activated to in a more protagonist, pro movement. Don't just sit on your ass watching TV anymore or listening to the radio. A lot of these things that are being perpetrated today, you really have to be critical on. All the way around. Look at the research, follow the threads, see where it takes you. Okay, so anyway, before I go on, I'm going to talk about the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. Again, support the network. Give them a hand any way you can. See what you can do. Help them out if you can. Give them a call. Say, hey, how can we help you? That wouldn't be a bad idea. You got, like I said, I'm always talking about, like I said, the two activists in Canada. GAG Canada with Bernadette Green and Bye Bye Blue Sky with Susan Marr. These are two women, Canadian women, who have a very passion about what's going on in our atmosphere, about the fumigation process, the nano technology that's being released in the atmosphere. They have sites up. Go check them out. Give them a hand as well. See what you can do to give them a hand. Then you got myself. We got Linda at Natural Earth. She also shops at the farms. Again, I'm still encouraging you to shop at the farms, and even though what's going on, try to find unpasteurized milk, unpasteurized dairy. Get your meats from a grass-fed. The cows and animals will at least be able to filter out some of this. Don't eat the organ meats. I would encourage you not to touch those. The organ meats will be loaded with what they filter out. So leave them alone. So again, her number is what? 519-980-5995. So give her a call. Then you got me down here at 519-977-5351 or independs@yahoo.com. We have a website up there with a catalog link. Feel free to access the catalog. We've got a flash drive, 32 gig, with about 30 gigs of information. We've got books. We've got databases. We've got videos. We've got shows. We've got interviews all in one. We've got books as well. The DVD books are on there as well. You can buy them separately or all together. You've also got the nano bucket. You've got other remedies that may help you. Check it out. If you need any help, feel free. If there's something that's not on there that you might be curious about, send me an email. I might have it, and we'll go from there. If you need a consultation, again, give me a shout. Send me an email or Skype if you have it, and away we go. All right. Again, number is 519-977-5351 or independs@yahoo.com. independz@yahoo.com. All right. When we're looking at what we do today, being innovative is a good idea. You know, read stuff, read studies. If you're trying to do what you're learning in the studies, do what they did. Try to copy the very environment they're in as well. So again, when we're looking at things that we can do, it's not hard. It's just going to be in the initial stages is adjusting to something that's different. It's no different when you were a kid riding a bike. You know, when you first got off a tricycle, you got on that two-wheeler, you had the training wheels. As soon as you got off the training wheels, you started wobbling all over the place because it was something new till you adjusted. Once you adjusted, man, you were flying down the road on your bike. So again, you know, give it a go. You got nothing to lose, everything to gain. And the more you learn, the more you keep your brain active. This is really an important thing that you want to sustain. Mental activity. Don't allow yourself to vegetate. Don't allow yourself to just, listen to a radio and being pumped with frequencies all day long. Don't just watch TV all day long. Study. And make things. Do things. Read something. Try it. See if it does work. You don't know today, even by the studies you're reading, if something actually works until you apply it to see if it does. And you may have to tweak it. You may say, well, I tried it their way and it didn't work, but when I added this herb or this vitamin or this mineral or this enzyme, then I got the reaction I was looking for. All right, I hear the music. Listen, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Again, feel free to go to the YouTube and check out the new video. And again, check out the site if you haven't been to the new link, nanotransformation.com, on the Augmented Force page. Check it out. Listen, thanks again. We'll see you next week. Till then, solve some issues, network, and cooperate. All right, talk to you in a bit.